And welcome to the TigerPaw Software Best Practice Series webinar. This is a live webinar series that focuses on sharing industry best practices, helpful business tips, and valuable partner training for VAR, MSP, and system integration business owners and managers. My name is Tony Maynor, and I'm going to be your host for today's call. The presenter today will be James Kernan, who recently joined TigerPaw as their new Vice President of Sales. James will be presenting today's session on dashboards and business intelligence. He will show you the importance of tracking metrics in your business and how TigerPaw makes this simple. Know that we will be holding another educational webinar next month, so keep an eye out for that announcement. Now, let's get started with today's session. Let me introduce our presenter. James Kernan is the author of the 36-Month Millionaire Coaching Program and recently published the book, Leadership Essentials for Successful Executives. He has successfully coached over 350 VARs grow their IT business with a variety of coaching programs through accountability, encouragement, and integrity. Let us welcome James.
Great, thanks Tony. Appreciate that. Let me start off by asking to everybody, what is business intelligence? Such an overused term in the industry, and I've heard dozens and dozens of explanations in years past. But to me, it's really simple. It's just getting the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decision. And really, as leaders in our business, I feel it's our responsibility to make sure that we provide the right tools and the right data and the right resources to our team members so they can make the right decision. So I've been in the business for over 25 years, and I've coached for the past 8. And it's been awesome working with so many different folks out there as a business coach. I've learned so much. But what was always shocking to me is I've seen so many people run their business blindfolded. They didn't know their numbers. They didn't know where they stood from a profitability standpoint. And that was something that I was determined to change. We all know what happens in sports if you take your eye off the ball, like this poor fellow. And we all know what happens when you're driving down the road and you take your eyes off the road. That's why it's important to keep score, to keep your eyes focused on where you're going and what you're doing. This is a great quote from Vince Lombardi. If winning isn't everything, why do they keep score? So he's exactly right. You know, in order to win, you have to keep score. So how about you? Do you have written goals for your business and or for your team? And more importantly, how do you track them? How are you monitoring these goals? How are you following up with them? So how are you keeping your team accountable? Here was something, a good business read for those of you who haven't read it yet. Good business book out there called Profit from the Core by Chris Zook. So here's a quote that really stood out to me in reading the book. And it was 9 out of 10 management teams fail to grow their business profitably. And his whole point there was they're not tracking the right information. They're not tracking where they're actually truly profitable. And that's not going to help you if you're not tracking the right things. That's really where TigerPaw comes into play. So today's agenda, I want to go through 4 things. First and foremost, the importance of systems and technology and the tools you use. Number 2, we'll talk about metrics for success. Then we'll go into dashboards. And then we're going to open things up at the very end for some Q&A. Okay? So here's something you probably have heard before for those of you that have been in the industry for a long time. You know, people and process and technology. You know, I hear that all the time. And my whole point of this is I see things that are really changing in the industry. And before, it used to be heavily swayed on the people side. It's a people industry. It's a people business. And we provide professional services, and people are indeed very, very important. But my challenge really is I think what's most important here is the technology. because your foundation of your business, the building blocks, really is built on the technology of your business. And from that technology and the tools you use, it dictates the processes, and from the processes, it's the people. So they're all important, but they have to work in order and work together. And again, that's really where I think TigerPaw shines. So you've got to use the right tool and build it and have your tools be the foundation of your business. Okay? I believe today that TigerPaw is the most powerful PSA in the marketplace today. From marketing and quoting and purchasing and inventory management, invoicing, payment processing, and more importantly, reporting, business intelligence. You know, TigerPaw is a tool to me that does it all. And even more exciting is there's over 150 integration and go-to-market partners in the TigerPaw community that even makes TigerPaw better. All right, so let's talk about a few things here. I want to go into the metrics for success. So I want to talk about what to measure, and talk about how to measure, what good looks like, the importance of working capital, and then managing DSO. And DSO is days sales are outstanding or your accounts receivable. Okay, we're going to go into that. So let's first talk about what to measure. So there are a lot of different things that you can measure in your business, and I don't have time today to go into all of these, but the good news is a tool like TigerPaw, you can measure these types of things. And as a business leader, I would encourage you to look at sales metrics, finance metrics, operational metrics, performance metrics, and even human capital metrics. So from a first and foremost, I want to jump into the sales side. And I've always said that until your salespeople get the results you want, you've got to measure the activities. And TigerPaw is a great tool to measure the activities, you know, from calls, contacts, appointments, proposals, wins. You need to be able to sort all of that and keep track of those activities. And then that, from an activity standpoint, will translate into the more important piece, the results side. And I've always felt you need to measure the gross margin per rep on a month basis, a quarterly basis, and a year basis. And I like using comparisons as well, you know, to track their actual performance to the goals. So that's important. Also, you need visibility to their pipeline. You need to know what's going on a 30 or 60 or a 90-day out time frame, not just for an individual, but for the whole team. And then you need to know where your business is coming from. You know, is my revenue coming from new businesses, and what percentage is coming from my install base? You know, that's something to analyze and review as well. And again, like I mentioned a moment ago, I'm big fans of comparisons and year-over-year trends. I like, you know, it's one of the ways of determining what good looks like, but you can compare. Most people that I've talked to want to grow their business, and you need to compare, you know, how you're doing so far this year to the same time frame last year. So I would encourage you to do that. And then one of the forgotten things to take a look at from a sales standpoint is just the won lost reports. This is a great way to educate your sales team. I want to understand what we're winning, I want to understand what we're losing, and then why. And share, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly with the sales team. And it's a great learning experience for everybody. And it's a way for you to adapt and get better in the marketplace. All right, so financially you can track these different metrics as well. And as a business leader, you know, these things are all important. You know, cash flow, we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. You know, operating profit percentage, gross margin percentage, which is your total profit divided by your total revenue. Your product margin percentage, that's another good thing to keep your eye on. The product cost divided by your selling price, or your service margin percentage, your total technical W-2 labor divided by your selling price. Those are good metrics to keep track of and compare to previous periods. And I'll talk about days sales outstanding, which is again your accounts receivable and the importance of that. And then this is your operational metrics. I put it phrased that way. It's really your service desk or your professional services team. You're going to want to have visibility to your utilization and what I call the realization, which is really your billable utilization. Okay, your work in process, for those of you that are using project management, you need to keep track of where you're at, your milestone billings and so forth. Callbacks, which are like redos, when calls come into the service desk and the customer wants you to do the work for free and redo what you've already fixed or you thought you fixed. That's a great thing to keep your eye on as well. It'll help determine either negative trends or positive trends, either with a specific employee. It might be a learning thing that you need to fix, or it might identify a problem client, or maybe a technology challenge that you're running into. Maintenance margins are a good thing to keep your eye on as well. And then some other important pieces, average labor price by hour. It's a good thing to kind of create competitiveness in your team and keep track of. In your technical services as a percentage of revenue. And then your service revenues to cost ratio. Those are all good ones to watch as well. And another one, performance matrix. And this is really a profit per employee, profit per sales rep, profit per billable tech, per department, per customer, per project. Again, this is more of a comparison one. This would be like, say, last year you had a record year and you want to come up with goals based on your performance last year compared to this same time frame this year. So these are good ratios to keep your eye on as well. Okay, so let's talk about how to measure. And that's really important. If you don't have a way to effectively measure things and monitor them, then they're kind of worthless in the first place to keep track of. So this is the exciting part, where we're looking actually at real-time dashboards for a CEO. So this is right into TigerPaw. And if your eyes go to the top left, this is 6 different reports that I put together in one dashboard. As a CEO, this would be things I would want to keep my eyes on. The top left report shows the top 10 opportunities from a company's perspective. It's all the different reps and all the different quotes that you have out in your pipeline. And I've got this sorted by the stage that it's in. Okay? So keep an eye on your pipeline. The second one, the top middle, this is the top 3 sales reps. So you want to understand who's doing great, and you can see Charles and Eric are doing well, and then the third person is not too far behind. But this is a great one maybe to compare how they're actually doing to their goals. But this is one of the cool features about TigerPaw. It's real-time data. So you can create a floating panel maybe on a second monitor, and as an executive you can leave that up all the time. And again, it's real-time data. It refreshes every 90 seconds. So you're analyzing what's actually happening in your business instead of using reports from a month ago. The top right report is invoice dollars per month, so it's really a performance report. And again, this is showing a comparison of the month this year compared to the same month last year. Then on the bottom left, there's a billable tech utilization report. So the performance of your technical team, which most of you, that's probably your most expensive department you have out there. You need to keep your eye on the performance and the billable utilization of that team. You can see in this one, Charles and Ken are killing it. They're doing great. And the rest of the team is actually at or over goal. The center bottom report is a sales orders estimated versus actual hours. This demonstrates basically your sales order estimates, and you can see both Terry and Ken are coming in under budget, and then Jerry is 3 hours over budget. So from a project management standpoint, I think this is a great report to keep your eyes on as well. And then on the bottom right is cash flow. It talks about your top unpaid invoices. This one is sorted by the oldest date out there. This is all just sample data that we put together, but you can keep your eye on the ball from an accounts receivable standpoint. And again, as a business leader, I think these are examples, and there's dozens of different reports that you can put together, but this is from a demonstration standpoint what I thought would be valuable for you today. The next reports I'll let Tony elaborate on, but this is really dashboards. You can customize this for middle-level management and also for employees. So I'll let Tony comment on this.
Thanks, James. So I use this a lot just to kind of keep up to date on how I am doing, because the other dashboards were focused on the company as a whole. These dashboards are focused on an individual, or could be a combination of mixed individual versus company performance. In the example that I have here on the top left, I actually have so far year to date, how many service orders have I opened versus how many service orders have I closed. And that's a really important metric, because if I was opening way more service orders than I was closing, then I might need some help, or I'm not finishing my work quick enough. So this gives me an idea of where I am year to date on that particular stat. The top middle is looking at projects, all the projects that are out there. It's seeing what is behind schedule. So if the design phase of the network install was supposed to be finished on the 13th and it wasn't logged as being finished or wasn't done, it's going to show up here. My goal for this particular frame is to keep it small. I don't want a whole bunch of projects behind schedule, so this allows me to go to that project, figure out what happened, reschedule it, and stay on top of all of the work that I'm doing. On the top right, I have a flow of the service orders that have been opened within the last 7 days. So it looks like on the 8th I had one order, and then the 9th and 10th were, of course, a weekend. Nothing bad happened. That's good. Monday I had a few orders open. Tuesday was a lower day for me, but then Wednesday really shot up and I had 5 orders open, and then it went back down to normal on the 14th. One thing that you can do with this particular report is compare it to the previous week and see if there are any trends with how often service orders are coming in and how many service orders are coming in. Maybe you need some more help on Wednesdays because you typically have an influx of service orders being created on Wednesdays. This is going to tell a service manager or even a tech what they can expect. On the bottom left, I have my personal top incomplete tasks. So I kind of wanted to put this together to show you that no matter where you are within the organization, whether you're a service tech, a sales rep, an admin person, you always have tasks, and your tasks are there to make sure that you get things done that you say you will or that you need to. So what this is telling me is that I have 3 tasks out there that I either A, forgot to complete, or B, didn't complete yet, so they need my attention right now. So I can see those, I can see what document those are for, and one thing that you also have the ability to do from any of these dashboards is click on an item of information and go directly to that task, to that service order, to that list that makes up that metrics in TigerPaw. So my top incomplete tasks, again, I'm supposed to really try to focus on keeping that low to make sure I'm on top of my game. Bottom middle is looking at the invoices that I've put out for the month, and it actually compares this year to last year, so I can see how I'm doing as an employee. And then lastly, I have the top 10 symptoms. And one thing that's really neat about TigerPaw is that you can actually codify and classify service orders by symptoms and resolutions. What this piece of information will give either a tech or a service manager is that I can see where most of my problems are occurring and what's going on. So in this particular case, it looks like, wow, a lot of my service orders that have been open so far have been due to disconnections from a network. I need to probably look into that a little bit. Followed closely by blue screens, computers being extremely slow, no connectivity within the network. It looks like not a lot of people are using Macs. I'm not getting a lot of kernel errors. There's no boot device found. Everyone seems to be good on that front, but I should probably look at ways to more quickly resolve disconnections. So this is just a snapshot. Again, we have dozens of different options for you to choose from a management level, from an executive level, and from an employee level to really customize this dashboard for your needs.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. That was great. And here's something that I'm really excited about. This is one of the most powerful data mining tools in the marketplace today. It's what we call the Matrix. It's another business intelligence tool inside TigerPaw that's coming with 15R1 which is anticipated to be released later this month. So this from a data mining standpoint is more of a list view reporting, where you can gather hundreds of thousands of different data points, and pretty much anything that you want you can pull out of TigerPaw and use it from an analytical standpoint. I don't know, Tony, if you have anything else to add to that.
Well, thanks, James. What's really cool about this is that a lot of people have to pull their information from their current system into Excel and try to do a whole bunch of calculations within that application. But with the Matrix, you can now do all of that within TigerPaw. And not only can you do that within TigerPaw, you can also share your creation with other people within your organization. If you create a look and a feel of your data, if you create a matrix, you can give it to other people within your organization. You don't have to just tell people what you're filtering by or tell people about that data. You can show them. Additionally, if you want to go out to our TigerPaw community, you will be able to look for other people that have matrix templates that may fit your needs. And you'll be able to import those templates directly into your database. The structure and how they put that data together will be preserved within the template, but it will be analyzing and displaying your data. And likewise, you can also take creations that you've made within TigerPaw's matrix to track a particular metric and export the template, what the building blocks of that particular matrix, and share it with other individuals. So there's a lot to like here.
That's awesome. Thanks. Very cool. All right, so let's go into what good looks like. So what good looks like is really relative to the business and what type of vertical you're in or the size of business. And this is just a sampling. I thought this would be applicable to everybody today. When you're setting goals and you're using tools like TigerPaw to track them, you need to know this is kind of a gauge of how to set your goals and where you want it to look like. So this data actually came from really a best practices presentation that one of our partners had at our annual conference last year. Taylor Business Group shared this data with us, and this is what good looks like from their perspective within their community. Sales expense not to exceed 10% of revenues, admin expense not to exceed 15% of revenues, your service utilization goal, this is that realization I was talking about a moment ago. You want 75% of your technical time billable or greater. And then managed service profitability in your managed service practice, you want 65% gross profit or greater. That's aggressive, but it's doable. Service salaries, you don't want that to exceed 33% of your service revenues in your business. And then a net income goal is 10% or greater net income. Okay, and then some of the other benchmarks they listed, services shouldn't be more than 50% of your overall revenue, and your monthly recurring revenue should represent at least 50% or greater of your overall service revenue. And last but not least, and probably more importantly than the rest, is it's a great goal to have if your monthly recurring revenue covers 100% of your fixed costs. I couldn't agree with that one more. That's great on the first of every month if you're paying all your fixed bills. And then all the other projects and the rest of the business during the month, that's icing on the cake. That's fantastic. And then a service department profitability is 50% or greater profit. Okay? So let's talk about the importance of working capital. So we all know that cash is king. So when those of you out there doing projects, big projects, it's really important to get as much money up front as possible. And as a rule of thumb, I'd recommend at least 60% or greater, and give them a reason to pay it all up front. Maybe give them a prompt payment discount, discounted, a prepaid block of time. There's a lot of creative ways that you can do that. But there's nothing worse in the business than you doing all the work and then you send out the project billing and then they don't want to pay for one reason or another. That's a bad situation to be in. And like I'm hinting at, you want to have timely billing. Even for for your milestones or even just time and materials billing, it's really important to bill real time or bill same day as you provide the service. You want to get that done. And TigerPaw is a great tool where you can automate a lot of those features and tasks as well. I think that's important. And let's talk about managing your DSO, or managing your accounts receivable. Okay, so I want to encourage you with your accounting team. This always seems to be a neglected department, but collections is really a process, and you need to have a documented process that everybody understands at each time frame. You know, what tasks am I supposed to complete to get through the collection process? It's important to communicate on a regular basis with clients. There's nothing wrong with calling them before the invoice is due. Don't wait till it's past due. Call them before it's due, call them when it's due, and you can call them if it's past due. You know, it's good communication. That's a good thing. And again, you can automate a lot of the communications through TigerPaw. That's why it's such a powerful tool. And then I want to comment on the thresholds. A lot of us are kind of, that have been in the industry for a long time, we're always stuck on the 30, 60, 90, you know, and 90 is, you know, over 90 is really bad. You know, why is it when we have to pay our vendors in 30 days, why do we bill our clients for 30 days? And you're lucky if they pay you in 30 days. Why don't you, for new accounts, why don't you bill net 15 or COD, get the money up front, and then you've got the cash for 30 days, then you can pay your vendor later. Okay, so I would encourage you, look at it maybe in a 15-day increment, you know, from a positive cash flow standpoint. Try to run your reporting that way as well, to keep your eye on things. And then the importance of documenting everything. You know, you got to document all your collection activities, and you got to have a tool to track your activities. And again, that's really why I'm here today. It's one of the reasons why I love the tool so much, because I think it blows the doors off the competition from an overall activity tracking. You know, from sales and marketing and even your accounting department, every client communication is tracked in the journal notes, and everybody who you give visibility to can have visibility to the client communications. You know, that's great to have. So like I was talking about collections as a process, you know, send the invoice, you confirm the receipt of the invoice, you confirm the timing for payment, you confirm the check run. It's all just, and then payment received, it's all just good communication. And I would encourage you to document your process and put timetables down so your accounting team knows what each stage looks like throughout the process. And I'll close this section with a little humor. I always find it funny in our industry of this. Let me just read the cartoon for everyone. If they don't respond to our final demand for payment, then send them our absolute final demand for payment. And if they don't respond to that, then send them our absolute final demand for payment. I get a chuckle when I talk with people about their collection efforts in the business. I don't know why we're afraid to hold our clients accountable. You know, they hold us accountable, right? So I think it's important that I used to say I would take it personally if somebody paid late. And this industry is stressful enough, and we all bend over backwards for our clients, and I can say that for TigerPaw as well. So it's important that people pay on time, and I'd always encourage people to have that conversation. But that's important, and it's important to have a tool that you can track those things. Okay? So take the blindfolds off and don't run your business without looking at the numbers. Focus on the numbers, focus on your goals, and focus on what you want to happen in the business. Use your tools like TigerPaw, use the data, use the reports, and keep score. That's so important. And when you do, you'll accomplish your goals, and you'll get to where you're going. So in summary, what we talked about, the metrics and dashboards, we talked about leadership and you providing the right information to your team. We talked about the importance of systems and technology. And really my encouragement to everybody is to execute, you know, take action on what you learned and execute and implement some of these things back in your business. So before we open it up to Q&A, I want to close with a couple quick things. Just an update, we've got our annual conference coming this October. It's probably going to be the biggest and best one yet. You know, from an attendee standpoint, there's anticipated between 400 and 500 people will be there. We've got 30 strategic vendor partners will be there as part of the community, some dynamic speakers, and to me something that's actually truly exciting is if you haven't been to Omaha, Nebraska, it is a great place to come and visit. There's some very cool things here, and we're integrating a lot of these experiences into the conference. So I encourage you to take a look at attending. There's an early bird discount. If you sign up before June 30th, there's a 30% discount, and you can register up on the TigerPaw website, tigerpaw.com. But wait, there's more. So any new client that signs on before the conference will get 2 free tickets to attend, and then any client that's interested, any new client that purchases the TigerPaw software before June 30th, we even throw in another 10% on off of the TigerPaw software. Okay, so if you're looking at making a change with your tool and you were encouraged with some of the things that you heard today, I strongly recommend to get a hold of us and get in the queue for this discount. This will save you some good money. And then next steps, again, if you're interested in learning more about TigerPaw, you can visit the website tigerpaw.com, or you could just contact the sales department and ask for a demo at 1-800-704-9009.
In today. Know that I do want to remind you that this particular webinar is recorded, so you will be getting a copy of this recording here shortly after, within the next day or so. So if anybody that you know really wanted to see this and just couldn't make it, go ahead and share that link with them so that they can check this out. Again, don't forget, if you want to get that 10% off, go ahead and give us a call by June 30th. And get into the queue for that. And I hope to see you all at the conference if you decide to hop on board. So thank you all very much, and thank you so much, James, for the webinar today.
You bet. Thank you. Bye now.